Hey guys, how's it going? This is part one of my stealth fishing series, and hold on. Okay, so what I want to do in this series is discuss stealth fishing, and then in the next part two, we're going to go stealth fishing. I'm going to take you with me, which should be interesting. So the first thing I want to talk about is why you would go stealth fishing. I think there's kind of two primary reasons. I can think of a few others, but the two primary reasons are: one, so that you can go fishing somewhere maybe you're not supposed to go, and I'll talk about that with the example of where we're going. I don't condone trespassing on somebody's private property and poaching their fish. The second reason is so that other people won't come to where you're fishing. If you're catching fish, the reason I like to fish is to be left alone, to enjoy the serenity of nature. That is the experience I really want. And one thing that ruins it is when you start catching fish and other people come by and they crowd around you and start fishing in your spot. I hate that. I really hate that. So those are kind of two reasons that I would go stealth fishing. So the first thing I did when I was looking for a new spot to go fishing is I went on Google Maps and I looked all around for bodies of water, and I found this area that's owned. It's kind of an empty lot that's got a pond and it's very heavily wooded. It's probably 50 acres or so, the whole area. The pond itself is about 3.5 acres. And they're just sort of holding out, trying to get some zoning changed so that they can build a lot or a mall or something. I can't remember. But anyway, I mapped the pond. I just traced the pond's outline in Google Maps, and then I went and I used a technique called with a marker rod, which I'll explain that technique tomorrow. Or, well, probably tomorrow when we actually go out fishing. But basically, if you can see there, I've got depths for all areas of the pond. And so I use that to help me fish and find where the fish are. So, laid out before me is the equipment I take, and let's just go through it. We'll kind of discuss what's here, and yeah, let's just have at it. So this first item here is the fishing rod I take. This is the rod I use mostly. It's a collapsible, kind of a telescoping rod, and it's 9 feet long. The reason for that length is when you're bank fishing, an extra long rod is very helpful. In England, for instance, they bank fish almost exclusively, for the most part, and they use very long rods, and it just helps you control a fish because you don't have a boat that you can maneuver around. So you use a long rod, and it helps you control the fish. The other rod I take is actually a fly rod, although it does not use a reel. It's a technique called tenkara, and it's very popular in Japan. I think it's been used in Japan for a very long time. It's sort of a traditional technique. But this rod is unique in that see here, it has a very, very fine tip, and there's a little thread on the end, and that's where you tie on your fly line. And you can basically fish a line that's roughly the length of this rod. This is a 12-foot rod. I fished about a 15-foot line, and it really works quite well. As within that range, obviously you can't go beyond that range, but within that range, you combine that, if you cast out the length of your rod and the length of the line, you can cast out quite a ways, and it's very fun to play a fish on this little rod. And obviously for stealth fishing, it's it packs very small. So that's the other rod I bring. Reel-wise, what I like to bring is this Pinnacle Deadbolt. It's basically just a medium-sized spinning reel. I really hate the tiny micro spinning reels. I find that they don't handle line very well, so I go with the medium size, even for a real light line. And then I make sure to always bring an extra spool with a different size line on it, so I can go from a medium to a light line if I need to, or if I get like a wind knot, I don't have to sit there and waste a bunch of time trying to get the knot out. I just switch spools. So I really recommend whatever reel you use, make sure you have an extra spool with you. Alright, so let's get on to bait. I fish with worms a lot if I'm bait fishing. I don't have any worms here, but you all know what a little styrofoam tub of worms looks like. These are the floats I use. I use a variety of floats, this cigar shapes, these real thin little stick floats. Just depends on the situation. If it's moving water, if it's deep water, if I have to cast a long way, it all changes what kind of float you want to use. Obviously, the size of bait you're using, too. Here's some little tiny jigs that I would use for crappie and bluegill and really small bass. So let me hold one up. Yeah, little tiny jigs, just like that guy. And these are my bass lures. I don't bring very many. Again, I'm trying to be stealthy, and I really don't subscribe to the change your lures all the time sort of method of bass fishing. I have a couple different styles that that retrieve differently and behave differently, and I'll try those. I don't bring a lot of colors either. I don't think all that is necessary. So what I got here is I got a couple rattle traps. I think those are amazing lure. I have a spinner bait right there. That works really well. It covers a lot of water, which is really nice. You can just kind of keep moving, trying a different area. And then if it gets slow, I'll use some things like jigs and just go real slow and methodical, covering ground a lot slower, but it works better when the fish are being a little more finicky. So there's the bass lures I bring. And then of course if I'm fly fishing, I bring my little fly box, which has a lot of just generalist small Adams type flies in there, a few various things, San Juan worms, got some poppers here, and some Clouser minnows. So just generalist type flies, nothing too specific because I don't want to carry a lot of gear. This little bag here has first aid kit and some matches and a few just little essentials like that that are not specific to fishing, but it's always nice to have them with you when you're out and about. This my wife got for me, and this is just really cool. This is not necessary, but I do like to bring it with me. It's an all-weather fishing journal by, I think the company's called Right in the Rain, or the product is, I'm not sure which. But it has waterproof pen and ink, and you can quite literally write in the rain. I just keep notes of the conditions, and it's got all this. Let me hold it up so you can see all this data here. You can just fill it in, and it's really handy. You'd be surprised all the details you forget. And looking back on it, it can help you if you're having a slow day to look back on your log and see what may have helped in the past. And this little pouch actually has room for some other gear too, so you can stuff it full of whatever. So I really like that. Not necessary, but it just adds a little more spice to the gear loadout. In terms of blades, this is the only blade I bring, pretty much. Excuse me, I'm kind of getting over a cold here. This is a Moore No. 1. I've reviewed it before. I love this blade. It's probably my favorite knife. They're super cheap, $10, and they've got that Scandinavian grind, so they cut really, really well. And I'll use this for a variety of tasks. Obviously, any cutting I have to do. And I don't bring a multi-tool. I used to. I've gone between that, Swiss Army knives. Now I just bring some dedicated pliers. They're real small, lightweight pliers for getting hooks out and helping to tie knots and stuff. And you can actually cut off tags of line too with this, because it's got the wire cutter there that works great. So I find those two tools are really the only two main tools I need. And I'll use this also, this knife, to help prepare wood for a little fire I make, a real small fire. And that's why I have this mug here. Is if things aren't going well, or you just kind of wore out and you want to take a break, I go make some tea. And if you've seen, I had a previous video called Southern Woodsman's Tea, where I made Yaupon tea. And around here we have lots of Yaupon, so I don't even need to bring tea bags or anything. But if you don't have Yaupon, obviously bring whatever you want. And this is just a fire piston. I did a video on that too. I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but that's the fire piston. And this is a little bit of tinder fungus to help me start the fire. But I also have matches, so if I'm not feeling up to it, I'll just use matches. Okay, so I forgot this reel actually. This is a center pin reel. This is what I use if I'm float fishing in a river, or a creek is more likely around here. And it is a really different kind of reel. If you never used one, they're commonly used for river fishing for steelhead in the Northwest. And basically what you can do is, as the float is drifting down the stream, you can control the speed of drift very precisely, just using your thumb as a brake on the spool. And once you do get a fish, it controls just like a fly reel, and so you have that direct control of the fish, which is really fun. Super fun to fight a fish like that. And all this I put in this bag to carry out. I make sure to use a very unassuming bag like this. It's just your very generic JanSport, backpack that you see students using. Just got the little outside pocket and then the big main compartment. And it doesn't organize gear very well, but like I said, it's unassuming. And that's what I want, because I don't want to look like I'm going fishing. I just want to look like some guy that nobody takes notice of, just kind of walking about. And let's see, I think that's covers basically all I want to talk about in part one. My wife made me this hat. I just want to use it as an example of, in my first video I made, a stealth camping video that is, a lot of people pointed out, hey, dude, you've got like bright yellow on your shirt. That's not very stealthy. And they were right. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't notice. But yeah, this time I use an example of the kind of clothing you want to wear is natural colors, obviously, so you don't stand out. I wouldn't recommend wearing like camouflage, because you look kind of suspicious lurking about in camouflage. But yeah, just wear things that don't stand out amidst foliage and such. So that's kind of the equipment I bring with me. And yeah, so that concludes the video. And then I'll be making a part 2 in which we actually get out and go fishing. And the only additional stuff I'll be taking, obviously, is a snack of some sort, a water bottle for the tea, and then this tripod and camera, which I can't show you, obviously, because I'm using it to film this video. But that's it. That's the end of part 1, guys. And yeah, stay tuned for part 2. Thanks.